Yeah, I think it's a career where it rewards people who continue learning, but I think it's a career that will punish you if you don't keep up. Uh, not saying you have to continually work all the time. And what my advice is to people who want to extend their income is often the easiest way of doing it is to kind of do something you're already doing, but just in another area. So whether you have a job, talk about it on a blog, talk about it on a YouTube
Mm.
channel, because it's very easy for you to do. You don't have to switch your mind so much, and it's like a natural extension of what you're currently doing, if that makes sense. That's kind of the way I recommend starting, because I think that's the easiest way to go about it.
So, welcome back everyone to my YouTube channel. Today is a special day. I get to interview someone who I've been watching from afar, and then we already tried to do some chit chat before. And yeah, it's really nice to meet you. I'm gonna give you the permission to introduce yourself, so you can introduce yourself exactly the way you want it to be said. What have you done before? What do you do right now? So that everybody gets to know you.
Yeah. So hi everyone, I'm Egor. For those who don't know me, I've been a data scientist now for over 3 years. Before then, I was studying for a master's in physics, and as Samson mentioned, I do a lot of content on the side now. So I do a YouTube channel, which we're doing like a year and a bit now, like a year and 2 months. I've had a blog for a while. It's on Medium. A lot of people are probably aware of Medium. It's a blogging platform. It's like a YouTube of blogs. So I've been doing that since I started working as a data scientist, so 3.5 years. And I've also got a newsletter where I just discuss. That's less formal, but it's more like just to get people updated what I'm doing and just my learning along the journey of everything I'm trying to just do. No real direction. It's just fun stuff. So I do basically summarize. I'm a data scientist, and I'd say I'm a content creator as well.
Oh, nice. By the way, I'm going to link Igor's YouTube channel to under this video if you definitely you want to check it out. I personally watch all your videos.
Thank you.
And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things you said also in this call so that everybody can understand. But maybe we start from there. So you said you became a data scientist 3.5 years ago. If anyone was to sort of get on the same journey with you right now, be a
Yeah.
data scientist, what advice would you give them? How would you recommend they get started? Or how did you get started?
Yeah. So I think if I'm being completely transparent, depending where you are in your kind of step, if you're like 16, 17, um, the way I recommend to start with, try and do a STEM subject at university, so a science, technology, maths, engineering. Ideally, you want to do something like maths and computer science, math statistics. I did physics. Physics is fine. I think though, if you're really keen on being a data scientist, you know exactly what you want to do, particularly a data science using machine learning, then realistically you're going to have to do a maths or statistics degree or STEM subject, ideally. People have done it other ways. This is just like if you want to have the most best chance of getting into it like really quickly, this is what I recommend. Then whilst you're studying that at university, make sure you take courses that have some sort of computational element on them. Chances are, if you're doing maths or stats or computer science, there'll be some modules on machine learning, data science, etc. Make sure you take those. And the one main bit of advice I'll give most people, and it's something I didn't do, but I think helps so many, is that make sure you do an internship in something data science related whilst at university. The reason I say that is because, in my experience, internships are a lot easier to get than straight entry level positions because you're an intern. They don't expect you to really do much or know much. Whereas entry level jobs, it's a lot more of a risk for the company because you're full time. An internship,
Yeah.
you're there for like 2, 3 months. You may get paid. They probably won't even pay you in a lot of cases, but you get experience, and that gives you such a big advantage. And I know loads of people who did internships, particularly in data science, get a return offer. So they do the internship, then they get offered a job full time after the internship. That's kind of the best way I would go about starting. If you're starting from like 16, 17, you haven't gone to university or college yet, that's in my opinion, the most straightforward way of doing it. Later on, it's different. And I think every scenario is kind of up to the individual. Like I said, I did a STEM subject, so I just applied for graduate schemes. I can't really speak on transitioning because I haven't done like the career transition or anything like that. There's people who have done
Yeah.
that in the past. We can talk more about that from what I've seen, but in general, like I said, that's the most straightforward path I can see happening. again, it depends on what your scenario, and I think each person's unique, but that's the best way to approach it.
Really good advice there when you talked about if you're a student, you should definitely be thinking about internships. I think a lot of people don't know that because I think by the time you get in, the barrier of entry is low. Also, here in Germany, I've noticed that if you trying to get an entry level position and you have some couple of internships that you've done, you are at a better advantage definitely than a lot of people
100%.
because it
Internships are like a hack, I think, and I didn't know them about well. I think if you know about them, you understand how valuable they are. Like I said, I think that a sure way of you getting like a job after university or college, you get an internship. You've really done well. Like I said, to get a full-time offer after university.
Wow, amazing. Okay, so I move on. So we talked about how do you would advise someone to get in. Now you've been in the game for 3.5 years already. In your opinion, what do you think really makes someone a good data scientist? So if I want to build my career, I really want to be top of the game. What would you advise me to do, and what would you advise me not to do?
Yeah. So assuming you're again, I don't work for like any massive FANG company, nor do I think I'm the best data scientist there. This is just but I think I've done pretty well so far, like above average overall. The way, I mean, good and great is very subjective, and good and great means a lot of things in different companies, different countries, etc. The main thing is I've seen when you start, particularly let's say you start your early 20s and you're a data scientist, the main thing you want to do in your career as a data scientist, like you really want to know everything technically. Like you want to be very good at everything fundamentally. So
Mm,
to be great, you it's not you can never. I don't think you can achieve greatness. I think you got to just build your way up to it. So I think always you have to continually study. Like anything, I think there's no secret to a lot of stuff people do. I think
yeah,
to be good, you just have to put in more time, more effort, and just continually invest outside even your general work would be great. But saying that, there's a few traits that I've seen. Like I won't say I'm great, but from my people working with great data scientists, the main thing I've seen is that they really, particularly if you're working in industry, they really focus on business problem first. It's always a business scenario and business
yeah,
case.
yeah,
So you can solve a business problem using reinforcement learning, or you can solve it using an if conditional statement if need be. The point is, it doesn't matter which one you do it, the outcome is the same, then you've generated the same business value. So it's always start with a business problem because at the end of the day, a data scientist is just a title. You're there to be a net positive for a business.
yeah.
If you can help the business in any way possible, it doesn't matter if you use a machine learning model or use some basic rule. If you're a net gain, you're a net gain. So they all focus immediately on business value. With that in mind, they also go out of the way to seek out these opportunities. So they often speak to stakeholders, they speak to business people, and they form relationships and understand how business works. So, like I said, you work for a business. So, at the end of the day, you want to help the business. And the way you help a business is by understanding how the business runs and where things can, like, where issues happen or where there's friction points that you can help. Obviously, at the back end of this, you have all the technical abilities. You understand algorithms, you understand when to apply algorithms. So that's kind of like the fundamentals you would learn the first few years. But then to become great, you got to understand, well, how can I apply all these technical skills to solve the business problem? And sometimes it's not even applying the technical skills, it's just solving it using basic data analysis. So it's more about just understanding what to do in every situation and finding the best solution in every situation. Quite vague, but it's something that just only comes with experience and just working a lot and learning as you progress. So I guess the main thing is just learn, understand the business, and just and be really good at fundamentals. Because that'll get you 80% of the way there, to be honest.
Really good advice, actually. I'm almost 5 years into the game now, and one of the things that I'm learning right now is the fact that if you're a data scientist, you need to always think about value. As a younger data scientist, one of the things I used to think about is, oh, I'm gonna build this machine learning model. It has to be 99% accurate. I want to learn the latest stuff. But now, as I go on, I'm like, no, really, it doesn't matter. Really doesn't
That's
matter.
why I used to be as well. The same. Like I would always start with, I'm going to use this technology to solve this problem, as opposed to I've got this problem, I should use this. That's the way you should sort of think about everything you do, and that's how you progress in your career ultimately
Hmm.
as well.
Right now I've got a director of data in my company that I report to, and the guy, every time I have a one-on-one with him, what fascinates me most about is just what you've said now, that he knows how to transcribe a business problem. He's speaking to the C-level, saying, we want to get more revenue or whatever we want to do, and he's going to transcribe that into a data problem. He's very good at that. And if we solve the problem with data, it can also explain it back to the C level and say this is the what the model is saying, this is the decision, and it's just amazing how we can move in between the two words, and that exactly is value there. That exactly is value. But I think a lot of people don't know that. Everybody's just thinking about LLMs and rags and the likes.
Yeah, it's a weird one because I kind of understand, because the reason I got into data science is because I watched AlphaGo. I did it a few times, and I was obsessed with like, oh, I'm gonna like deep neural networks, deep reinforcement learning. I was obsessed with this like cutting edge things, and that's how I got started. But then that's fine because it's exciting. It's like this really cool thing that's really cutting edge. But then once you start getting into the industry, you realize, well, hang on, these things aren't really used that much, particularly in like industry and businesses, because you don't need them to overkill. And then
Yeah,
you start learning other skills, and you still like it. You just learn to, you realize what the job really is like, and it's fine for some people. They may not like that, which is fine. But for most people I've met, they kind of just say, yeah, I still enjoy it. It's just not exactly what I thought it was. Like I thought it was about building deep learning models, but after a few months of my first job, I realized it wasn't that. So I was
yeah.
okay with it. I think most people come to that realization as well, and that's the reason why everyone always says it after a few years in the field.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that. I saw a video somewhere, and the guy was saying that don't go into data science if you only want to work with deep learning and LLMs. And I think I was listening also to you. You were saying something like on one of your videos where you were saying just what you said about it's not so many companies that are actually actively building this stuff. So if you were to advise someone about the expectation so that they can have the right expectation, because I think this is a problem. This is also another thing I've seen. I teach data science here in Berlin at the boot camp, and I've noticed over the last years that a lot of the students, when they want to do their portfolio project, they are always doing their portfolio projects with LLMs or reinforcement learning. And not to say anything against that, I just think that a lot of them would be disappointed when they get into the industry and find that it's not also a lot of companies who are actually using some of this stuff. There's a lot of companies that are just doing basic machine learning that are doing amazing stuff, and you can see the business value of those. So maybe we can talk a little bit about it. What advice would you give someone to basically understand that the other stuffs are not irrelevant?
Yeah, so I can understand it because like deep learning and are the most like exciting part of the industry at the moment. That makes sense why everyone wants to work on them. And you think there is roles that you can work on those things, right? So
Yeah,
I think of domains here. So things like recommendation systems, computer vision are areas where you can work on these things. In my experience, like those roles are quite a minority. Quite a few of those roles available compared to, let's say you want to be a data. The most common example is, let's say you want to be a data scientist or some sort of banking fintech company. A lot of people want to work in fintech. Those and for those, a lot of the data scientist jobs there, they're probably not using neural networks because one, it's overkill.
yeah,
Two, a lot of it's tabular data, so things like XGBoost, CatBoost work really well. And three, the industry is heavily regulated, and because it's regulated, you can't use these like black box models.
yeah,
So, and this is a theme across other companies as well. Particularly when it comes to explainability, you want to have a model that you can like tell stakeholders what's going on. I mean, no, I mean, not everyone's lying if they can say my neural network is doing this at each neuron at each layer. It's impossible, right? Maybe you have some understanding, but it's very unlikely. Yeah, I'm not against people going into it because they're interested in it and they do have their place.
yeah,
So, like I said, at the end of the day, if you work for a business, particularly, I'm not talking about research labs, they just want you to generate value for the business.
Yeah.
and you can normally get the majority of the way there using just random forest, XGBoost, just like regression models. You don't need to worry about neural nets, particularly at the beginning. And from my experience, I've built two models before, one using like GBM, one using neural nets, and they both achieved the exact same performance. And I just went for the light GBM one because it was easier to make and keep, it's easier to understand,
Yeah.
it's a lot, the APIs are easier to work with. So, in my opinion, you can also achieve a similar performance between all those models, a lot of tasks. So, learn them, but don't expect to use them. So, if you want to be a data scientist, you can try, but you're really going to narrow down your options of where you can apply and what areas you can work in. So, be open, just learn the fundamentals to start with, and then you can think about really tailoring your career into a certain area if you really want to work with those technologies.
Yeah, that's it. That's good advice. Learn the fundamentals, and then you can move around depending on the company you want to go to. Okay, maybe we can move on a little bit from that. There's this your video that you did recently that is really amazing. You were talking about I think 7 streams of income for you as a data scientist. And I think that's something I want us to talk about as well, because I mean everybody loves money, but
Yeah.
aside being a data scientist, of course, aside from your salary, I think a lot of people also struggle with the possibility to also get something on the side, and everybody will like that. So maybe we can talk about it. How do you sort of build all of these other streams aside from your salary, and you might also get something going from there?
Yeah. So, like again, like I said in that video, my career as a data scientist is the most important to me. Like I'm still early on, 3 years in. I'm still learning a lot. A data science salary pays quite well, no matter where you are. You're going to be
Yeah.
above average. I think when I started working, I was above average salary in the UK straight away. Again, I have I'm not saying this is, but I had a master in physics. So normally, if you have a master degree in a STEM subject, you're naturally
Yeah.
going to earn more anyway. That's just the statistics. Doesn't mean if you don't have that you can't earn more. It's just the statistics around it. So data science salary really good. It's a really good working life balance. So again, that's straight away. When it comes to other stuff, they kind of naturally came around. So I never set out my way to start earning money on the side. Like anything, I think most people say this as well. It starts off, you start doing something, and then not suddenly it makes money, but it just a path kind of emerges, as you would say. I know it's quite philosophical, but that's very common from what I've heard from people. So when I started working in my first year, I wanted to do something that other people weren't doing. So I started a blog on Medium, and that blog was purely for me to learn things and write about them. It wasn't to make any form of income to start with, anyway. It was just me writing about things I was learning on the side. So I always want to do a bit more, like not just do my job, but really show I'm quite interested in the field. So I started writing about things I was learning. It was very, very mathematical, like Bayesian regression from scratch, moment and moment generated functions, all these things about statistics that are very niche. So I started writing about them. And like I said, on Medium, there's like a paywall. I went behind a paywall, and I was just earning a little bit of money from it. It just came about. And even now, most of my writing, I do it mainly just to learn. I don't really, the money's a byproduct of it. Again, I don't earn enough to quit my job or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to. It's more for me to excel in my career. There's a platform to show my work. But again, it does show you that you can do what I like to think of everything I do. I'll explain in a sec. Is that I want everything to kind of be interloops, so I'm doing one thing. So my blog is on data science. I work as a data scientist. So yeah, two things, but they belong to one group. The same thing, I started a YouTube channel because I've always wanted to do YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch so many YouTubers. I really like YouTube as a
Yeah.
platform. I think the best platform. Again, it's about data science. So I'm doing
Yeah.
three things, but it's one thing. And I started a newsletter because I don't know, I thought it'd be quite fun. My newsletter is very unoptimized. I talk about my skincare on it. It's that kind of open, but again, it's kind of themed on data science. And so everything I do, even though there's in total there is 7 streams of income there, and I can break them down, but they're all themed around one area. And what my advice is to people who want to extend their income is often the easiest way of doing it is to kind of do something you're already doing, but just in another area. So whether you have a job, talk about it on a blog, talk about it on a YouTube channel,
Mm.
because you're it's very easy for you to do. You don't have to switch your mind so much, and it's like a natural extension of what you're currently doing, if that makes sense. That's kind of the way I recommend starting, because I think that's the easiest way to go about it.
Yeah, true, true. That's actually quite nice. For example, for me too, I teach data science, and I still find it nice because I'm going to teach what I actually do at my job. So it makes it easy, and it really brings me back again to the fundamentals. And I can also like refresh my memory. One interesting thing that often happens in the class is the fact that the student actually asks me questions that I actually don't sit down and ask myself usually. And then I go like, oh, that's a good idea actually. And then I try to figure out, okay, why this won't work or why that won't work. But it's good that you can have many streams, but keep it around the same thing that you do. Because I mean, as a data scientist, you spend a big part of your life actually on data science. So if you try to switch your mind too much, you would have a problem.
And it's possible though. Like, there's people who do stuff on separate things.
Yeah.
I just think, like, if you think of it this way, you are really doing one thing. You're doing data
Mm,
science. You're just doing it in different ways. If you
mm,
then say I have my YouTube channel on something like personal finance, then it's like, oh, it's another whole thing. I've got to like switch my mind and start talking about this. It's not a good idea because I have no experience in it really. I'm also quite young, so it's not the best platform or the best topic to discuss.
mm.
But because it's my channel is based on what I know, I
Yeah.
don't need to do research. I just talk about, well, I do research now and then, but I speak from my own experience and what I've seen, and I make a conscious effort to say, like, this is what I think, this is what I do. So it's not like I'm telling people to do these things. I speak from personal experience, and that makes the whole process a lot easier because I don't waste time trying to research all these stuff because I already know it and I live
Yeah.
it, and that makes it easier to like spread out your sources. Like I said, I've got the blog, I've got YouTube, and I've got like a mentoring calls that I do. And again, the mentoring calls I speak from experience. That's why they work. So yeah, I think for people it's a lot easier than they think. I'm lucky in that I like what I do. I know people
Yeah.
who don't like what they do, which makes it
Yeah.
harder. But if you like
Yeah.
what you do and you're looking to expand, then in my opinion, content is the easiest thing to start with. And again, like anything, it takes time. But if you like it enough, you'll stick at it, and then
Yeah.
something will happen, and you won't lose anything from not doing it anyway.
Yeah, true, true, true. Let's talk a little bit about what he's talking about sharing your experience on YouTube. So maybe we begin to round off now because of the time. So you made a video to tell you I actually follow your videos back to back. You made a video recently about 4 years of data science in 10 minutes. And I just want us to talk a little bit about that. So basically, if you could summarize your experience so far in some few sentences, how would you summarize that, basically your experience?
So I'd say a year of learning, 3 years of practice, but I would really say 4 years of learning. I think my experience so far has been it's always about just learning, putting yourself out there and learning, and that's how you develop. In my experience, I spent a whole year at university studying on the side, while doing my degree studying data science. Then I got a graduate role where I worked in insurance as a data scientist for a year. Then I pivoted to where I am now, it's like a tech supply chain company. I've been there 2 years. So that's been my experience. Like I said, the one key theme across all of it is just continual learning. Look at my blog. I've written 150 free posts on data scientists, right? And that's just me learning along the journey. So I don't think too much into it. I just learn and I learn and I learn. And I keep on learning and I learn from others. I try to not have an ego. I mean, I don't have an ego, but I always think people know more than me and I have big imposter syndrome. So I'm always trying to learn more and more from other people. And I share what I learn, but I never say to people this is the best way of doing it. So I think that is the thing, just learning across the whole 4 years is what really propels you forward.
That's a big one. I was sharing a video on my YouTube channel, one of my biggest video right now, and I was saying that
Yeah.
one of the sad realities, or so I think maybe a lot of people took that out of context, and I was sharing that one of the sad reality of data science is the fact that you never stop learning. Almost 5 years in, and literally every other day I'm learning something new. Sometimes I feel like I'm not catching up fast enough. with the new trends, basically just trying to know, okay, this is how this works. This is, I work in a place where I started off focusing more on marketing analytics. Now I'm doing a lot about customer analytics and growth analytics, which is also different. So even in the same role or in the same company, you're moving in different directions and you have to keep improving yourself, sort of. And I think that's the game.
Yeah, I think it's a career where it rewards people who continue learning, but I think it's a career that will punish you if you don't keep up. Uh, not saying you have to continually work all the time. Like you can just say you start early on and you go down a single area, like a single specialism. If you're really good in that area, like fields don't move that quickly, but if you don't try to keep on learning, within 10 years, the field will be ahead of you. That's an extreme case, but like I said, just it's not static. There's no exams you've got to pass to be a data scientist. You have to really go out your way to show that you're qualified and you know what you're talking about. It's not like accountancy or being a lawyer where you can prove you know what you are. You have to really do other things to show your competency in the field.
Amazing. Last question. I'm actually enjoying this, but I need to let you go. Last question. If you could give any 5 data science or AI predictions for the future, what would it be? This is difficult.
I said it quite openly. I think AI, as it currently stands, is a bubble. I think, okay, ChatGPT, great tool. At the moment, I could be completely wrong. I don't think AGI is going to happen in the next 5 years. I don't think ChatGPT is going to replace data scientists, so don't worry about that. It is a bubble, and I think the bubble is slowing down. Like I can see it popping slowly, right? Yeah. So straight away, that's my prediction. I could be wrong, and we will laugh at this video. Data science wise, I think data science is transitioning. So I've kind of spoken about it before. I think data science is going 2 ways. So you either become like more analytical, purely looking at data, trying to find patterns in it, or you can go down the ML engineer route, where you're building models and deploying them, but that's going to path of seeing it. And I think because both are valuable for business, but now I think a data scientist role is kind of transitioning to being either or. So I kind of see data science kind of, like I said, forking in that area. And what I see happening is that kind of fork is going to become more specialized. So what I'm seeing now, like if you apply for roles, they're going to be more kind of saying you need to have experience in this industry or in this kind of domain. And it's going to be less open and harder to move across domains. So for example, let's say like I used to work in insurance and I move into supply chain. I reckon that transition is going to be harder because there's going to be more data scientists, more specialized data scientists, and I feel like it's going to be harder to pivot around. I'm not saying it'll be impossible, but I think it'll be harder to pivot. And I think those are generally my main predictions. So it's not all doom and gloom. What I'm saying is AI is not going to take your job, but you're going to have to. It's going to be harder to change areas going forward. I think not impossible, but it'll be harder.
I do agree with the AI is not going to take your jobs too.
Yeah.
I'm also recently sharing with people who are getting afraid about it, and I think that it just doesn't add up for me logically. It's literally not possible because you're going to need. I think data science will change, just like you said. We're going to change a little bit, and you also see like all these AI engineer roles coming up now, which is typically what a data scientist would do, but more focused on LLMs and the likes. Yeah, you would still be around and we would still be needed. So, no worries. Thank you so much for the time. I really did enjoy it. It was short. I'm gonna put Egor's YouTube channel under the link, and then you should watch it. Definitely subscribe to that, and I'll see everybody soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.